Please like and subscribe. Let's grow NAIA basketball. Thank you. Cascade Hoops Talk, bringing the world NAIA basketball one podcast at a time. Hey, Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Well, a lot to get to, a lot of conference action last night, several upsets, and we have Scott Moore, head men's basketball coach, Grace Lancer. So let's get right to it. Last night in the Sooner, Langston, they beat Texas Wesleyan 85-49. Anthony Roy, 22 points, 5 rebounds, and DeMonte Brown, 14 points. So Langston is 14-0 now, and they're going to play Science and Arts on Saturday. Buy a ticket to that game. That's going to be at Langston. Wayland Baptist, they got upset last night by Sagu. Sagu played a really good game at Wayland. Cortland Blake, 29 points, 4 rebounds, and J.J. Bowling, 10 points, 16 rebounds. Wayland Baptist, they go to 10-4, and they're going to play Oklahoma Panhandle next Tuesday on the 16th. So in the Sooner now, Science and Arts, they won last night. Langston, we talked about. Mid-America Christian won. They beat Oklahoma City. John Brown, we talk about them in a minute. And UNT Dallas won. So here's the standings. So Langston, they continue to roll 8-0. John Brown, 7-1. And then Science and Arts and Sagu are both, 2 games back. So that Science and Arts and Langston game is going to be a big game. Mid-South last night, Georgetown fell to Lindsey Wilson. They go to 12-3. Lindsey Wilson beat them 91-87. Kiara Carbon, 27 points, 3 rebounds. Barrett Burchett, 15 points, 3 rebounds. The 12-3 Tigers are going to take on Cumberland's on Saturday. Freed Hardman, they held pace. They beat Cumberland, no relation, 99-69. J.J. Wheat, his patented 16 points, 3 rebounds. Quan Lax, 16 points, 6 assists. So Freed Hardman, they're going to take on Bethel out of Tennessee on Saturday, and they are 13-2. Cumberland's goes to 15-1. They beat Campbellsville 91-86. Looked like Cumberland's was struggling. I thought they might go down, but they pulled it out. Jonathan Brown, 15 points, and Brady Bell, 19 points. They're going to play Georgetown, as I said, on Saturday, and they're 15-1. So we mentioned Cumberland's one. Oh, those are all 3 we've talked about. Move on, Bill. Not much to show in the standings. The conference just started. In the Red River, LSU Shreveport, they beat Jarvis Christian. James Ellis, 14 points. Melvian Flanagan, he had 18 points, 2 rebounds. LSU Shreveport, 11-2, and they're going to play Texas College on Saturday. Xavier, they go down. LSU Alexandria beat them at Xavier, 78-76. Cashy Nat, 20 points, 8 rebounds. J.D. Allen, 17 points, 5 rebounds. Xavier, they're 9-3 now, and they're going to play Louisiana Christian on Saturday. So the rest of the games, Texas College was a winner. Our Lady of the Lake, North American, LSU Alexandria, as we said, and Hudson Tillotson. Let's look at the standings because I think this is really interesting. Obviously, LSU Shreveport, 6-1. Xavier now a game back, 5-2. But look who also was 5-2 with North American. I mean, a few weeks ago, a lot of people were kind of writing their obituary for this season, and there's LSU Alexandria right up there, knocking on the door. Frontier Conference, they played some basketball in Montana last night. Montana Tech beat Montana Northern 62-60. Legend has it that's a tough place to play. Michael 13 points, 1 rebound. Asa Williams, 12 points, 4 rebounds. The Ore Diggers, they go to 12-3, and they're going to play Carroll on Saturday. Rocky Mountain, they beat Providence 74-64. Jesse Owens, 22 points, and Maxim Stevens, 14 points, 8 rebounds. The Rocky Mountains 10-5 now. and they're going to play Montana Northern on Saturday. So in the Frontier, only one other game. Carroll beat Montana Western also. Standings. There's really not much here. Montana Tech and Carroll are at 2-0. Not enough games there. The GSAC, a lot of action in the GSAC last night. So Arizona Christian beat Life Pacific 88-61. Dennis Flowers 16 points. Micah Blackwell 15 points. They're 13-4, and they're going to play the Masters on Saturday. Speaking of the Masters, they got beat in surprise last night by OUAZ, 84-79. Jacob Henry scored 16. Lachlan Viney and Jace Catchings, they both scored 15 in the victory for OUAZ. The Masters, they go to 13-4, and they have to go to Arizona Christian on Saturday. Also in the GSAC last night, we mentioned Masters. Jessup beats Vanguard, and Hope International hangs on, and they beat Menlo. Those are really all good teams right there. So let's look at the standings. Again, it's early, but I always think it's interesting when the conference starts and see who rises to the top. Jessup is 3-0. Another team that just nobody had been talking about. Arizona Christian 2-1. Bunch of teams 2-1. But good start for Jessup. Southern States last night, just a couple games. Thomas beat Faulkner. Loyola beat Blue Mountain. Didn't really do anything in the standings. Tennessee Southern's just sitting there watching them, 2 games up. In the River States, Point Park, they won. They go to 15-1. They beat Oklahoma City, and then Shawnee State won. So both those teams, if you look at the standings, both those teams leapfrog West Virginia Tech, but now West Virginia Tech has 1 game in hand. This kind of seems to be where the race is. IU Kokomo and Indiana East, IU East are trying to catch back up. In the American Midwest Conference, William Woods, they beat up poor Pharmacy. Columbia, they beat Missouri Baptist. Central Baptist won, and Harris Stowe. They're only just a couple games into the conference, but Central Baptist leads them at this point 3-0. Okay, we have Scott Moore. He's a head men's basketball coach at Grace Lancers. That's all you need to know. Let's listen to him. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. I got Scott Moore. He's the head men's basketball coach, Grace Lancers. Thanks for being on, Scott.
Hey, thanks, Billy. Appreciate your time.
So, Scott, you guys hosted Huntington last night. Really good team. You took them down to go 16-0. Talk about Huntington, how good they are, how good the Crossroads is this season. What a job also Corey's done up there.
Well, I'm waiting for the Crossroads League to not be good. I'm trying to. I keep waking up every single. Maybe this is a year that we can take a breather on a couple of these games, but it's just not the case. So they're incredible. I think I have such a respect for Corey because I think he does such a terrific job of knowing exactly who he is and what they want and how they play. And, I think you hear that and that can sound like coach speak, but you'd be surprised. I think there's a lot of coaches out there at every level that, if you ask them or their players, hey, who are you? What's your foundation? What's your philosophy? I don't know if they'd be able to tell you. I think you know exactly who Huntington is. And I think Corey's done a great job of just sustaining that through his first 4 years here. And, they've had our number. It's out of all these teams. I think Huntington has given us the most trouble of anyone, or at least one of the most troubles we've had. So it's a big game for us. It always is. It's high emotion, it's high intensity. The crowds are great. Yeah. It's just about as good as small college basketball in the country. So just fun to be a part of.
You get past Huntington last night. You go 16-0. You got Bethel. You have to go up to Mishawaka, which is a tough place to play. Bethel is a kind of a longtime rival of yours. They're big. They can shoot the ball. Hey, is there anything to this rumor that Widener and Greg Miller are going to go one-on-one to 20 points to see who gets spotted 10 points?
Well, I think a couple of years ago that that could take place. But if you ask them both, I think they're both saving their knees for their golf swing. But I don't think you could pay them enough money to do that one-on-one. So, but they're probably, there's not many nights where when they're sitting there that I turn around and look around and, we have the best player on the floor and he's in a collared shirt or something like that. I told Jordan, hey man, if you can recruit kids that are better than you, then we're going to be really good. So keep trying to do that.
So, but I mean, just talk about Bethel. I know you've scouted them. I think they got beat by Marion. Indianapolis, tough place to play, but they've really been on a roll. They got the big guys. They can really rebound the ball. Nathan Ertz is kind of a little bit like Wadding. He can pretty much do everything. And then now they got Clay Hilliard, and then this young guy from Luke McBride from Norwood. He's starting to get comfortable shooting the ball as well.
Yeah, Norwell. Yep. Coach's son.
Norwell.
Really
Yeah, Norwell. Right.
Bethel. I mean, Bethel's Bethel. They're going to give, whatever we're ranked. It doesn't matter who's what. I know sometimes he talks about, well, you got number one in front of you, so you're going to get everybody's best. We don't have to worry about that with Crossroads team, especially the team up north. They are coming to play, and we got to go into a tough place, tough atmosphere, and play against a team who, I really do believe, Billy, after, we're 15, 16 games into this thing, is they're a top 25 team in the nation.
Oh, yeah.
We obviously got to spend some time out with them in Oregon and to watch them play Oregon Tech and Bushnell. And it's like, okay, anytime you have arguably the best guard in the country, and now they've got some pieces around him. They've got some size. They've got some depth. Their freshmen give them good quality minutes. So, you're always going to have a chance. And I think Greg Miller's done a great job helping to even, bring in just a different view of certain things. And again, Steve is he's so calm and he's so patient and he's so good at just, he's a thinker, man. He evaluates, he takes stuff in, he doesn't make rash decisions. And I think one of the compliments I can give them is I think his players feed off that. You see this calm, just presence about the Pilots right now. And I think a lot of that comes from Coach Draben, where it's just, it's never out of control. It's never just chaotic, just calm and just stay the course. And no matter what happens, we're going to have a chance in the end if it's close because of those guys that we have, especially that lead guard in Drew Lutz.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. I think that really came through. I don't know if you watched that Georgetown game. They beat Georgetown up in Mishawaka.
Yep.
And they had several chances where they could have folded. And they just, as you said, just stayed the course and got that big win.
Yep, that was a big win. It was a big win for our conference.
Yeah, it was.
Anytime you have those, us being able to knock off Oregon Tech on their home floor, again, I think that comes back at the end of the year where you kind of take a look at different conferences and how they did. And obviously for us, the Mid-South is a big deal just because it being, in our arc. And Georgetown's obviously one of the most storied programs in the country. And so for us, for the Crossroads League, that's what you want. You want to see your teams win those non-conference battles because in the end, in February and March, it's going to matter.
Coach, I know probably every time you have a discussion, you're talking about Malone and the Gibbs brothers and, for good cause. I mean, they're really great basketball players, but you have some guys that really are important and critical to your team. Ian Scott, obviously Jake Wadding. I think everybody knows who Jake Wadding is, but Ian Scott, your point guard Bryson Graber. Hey, he scored 24 points against Taylor. What did you feed him that day, Graber?
Yeah, he came out rock and roll. I go, who is this? Did Marcus, my twin brother, just slip on a jersey here and go back in the game? And I didn't know it. But I think, to your point, I think, success comes, you got to have talent, right? And there's no question these kids are talented. You can't win games if you're not talented, but you can be special if you have something more than just talent. And I think there's two things about these guys that is to be said. Number one, we have a lot of guys that call, our 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th player. But in reality, Billy, I could start any one of them. And I got to start 5. I can only get 5. And so those guys, I'm not, this may sound egregious when I say this, but I believe next year that Ian Scott will be in the running for the Crossroads League Player of the Year.
Oh,
I think he's that good. I think just next year when we have to play him more and more and more. Like again, the Huntington game, you saw Elijah got in foul trouble early here, and Ian's a 6'7", 6'8" mobile big that like he had to play. We don't play anybody 15-minute stretches at all. I mean, if you watch us play, it's can you play hard for 6-7 minutes, and that's about the extent of it. Well, he comes in and he plays 15 minutes and 30 seconds in the first half straight, and he's just an Iron Man. And he just he ends up with 16, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 turnover, 3 blocks, 2 steals. He's a stat stuffer when he is able to play extensive minutes. And so it's coming. But with that, you have to have a sense of enjoyment from those other guys like Elijah. So when Elijah, I'll give you, for example, the Taylor game, he had 1 point at halftime, and he's on the bench and he's just going nuts, like cheering for his guys. And here, player of the year candidate is sitting on the bench with 1 point, just going nuts. There's not a single pout going on. There's not a single, well, I need to get mine. It's like, no, man, like you're going to get yours, but like we're winning games. And I think they've understood that, Taylor game also, Bryson goes off, right? He goes early. Well, Carter's such an energy guy for us, and he had a great game last night against Huntington. Did a phenomenal job. Carter comes in for Bryson. He had his mouth kind of got cut open there, and Bryson goes back in the game right away because he was kind of cooking, and it gets to the point where I got to make a rotation again and get Carter back in. That's kind of the normal rotation for us, and I haven't had this happen in my 5 years coaching. He just kind of looks, he's like, hey, don't put me in, man. He's rolling. And so I got to, my junior captain, it's his time. It's his turn to play. And he's looking at us going, Coach, don't put me in. Not because he doesn't want to play, just because he knows that, like, look, you're crazy if you take him out right now. So we left him in. And I think that's so unique. It's so unique in sports, and especially today. And I think that will carry us a long way through this season.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool story. You mentioned coming out to Klamath Falls. I got a chance to actually last couple of years I've got a chance to spend some time around your guys, and I think that's one of your biggest strengths. Obviously, as you said, you got to have basketball talent, but your guys are really tight. It's a great group of people, and I think they. In some ways, they seem to care more about each other's performance over theirs and the team performance. And I know that's what you aim for, but it seems like you have truly achieved that.
Yeah, well, everybody's tight, right? And every coach loves their team in August and September. But there is a true thing, like, can you be tight during adversity and really tough times and things like that? And I thought kind of some of the things they went through last year with their teammate going through cancer. And, I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but like you started to put basketball in perspective a little bit. And it's like, okay, there's something here that is more than just, can we win? Can we lose? Can we win a crossroads? Can we do this? That's obviously, that's a goal of ours. We want to do that. I'm competitive, right? We all want to win, but I'm not going to hang my hat every day when I get home based on, did my team win tonight? Did we win this game? And I think they've done a good job, and they've been with me forever, right? Where it's not a secret. We're not young anymore. We've got a bunch, we have 11 juniors and seniors, and all those guys have significant tournament experience, not only just playing experience, but tournament experience. So I think the message is being perceived. I think they're really buying into it. And, when we say the whole family thing, I actually do believe, I think it is a family. I think these guys will stay united and stay close for many years after they walk out of here with their diploma.
I completely agree with you from what I've seen with your team. I want to ask you also about your freshman, Gage Sefton. He is really starting to come into his own, isn't he?
Yeah, he's special. And we knew that. On any other team, Gage is obviously, he's playing a lot more minutes and he's scoring a lot and he's doing some things. But for us, we knew he came out of that Blackhawk program in Fort Wayne where the Davidsons came from and played for Mark Davidson. One of my favorite things about recruiting both Ian Rosh and Gage is, they won a ton, but they also, as freshmen and even a little bit as sophomores, they had a lot of really good players above them. So they had to grind just to get on the floor. And, when Caleb First is there with Frankie Davidson and Marcus Davidson and all these guys, Gage Sefton ain't getting on the floor. And if he does, it's going to be really, 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 sporadic. Yeah. So we kind of came in, and my coaching philosophy, I do this. I don't promise a single kid anything. It's like, look, we're going to try to win games. And whether that's with a freshman or a senior or any in between, people always ask, why do you play so many guys? And it's like, well, because I got so many guys. I don't go into the game planning on, we're going to always have 10 guys in our rotation. Heck, in 2 years, we may play 6 guys. Right. But it's to our advantage, I think. I think it helps us win games. So with Gage and with Ian, that was the recruiting pitch. Is like, hey, you're going to come be a part of something. I'm not promising anything. You got to do whatever you can to get on the stinking floor. And I know that you're competitive enough and you're tough enough that you're going to do that and be successful. And I think what you'll see with both those guys, especially after next year, we're going to graduate that whole group, the twins, Carter, Bryson, Ian, Scott, all those guys, they're going to turn around. We don't have any sophomore, and they're going to turn around and they're going to be, holy smokes, like now I'm not going to come off the floor. Like, that's what I told them last night. There may be a chance where I never take them out just because we need them, but right. They're so disciplined and so unselfish and such a great fit for who we want to be. And they are a big reason of our success up to this point.
I know you don't want to look ahead, but I'm going to ask you a couple. I watched St. Francis and Mount Vernon last night. That was a pretty good ball game. St. Francis is pretty tough, but the team that is really flown under the radar is Mount Vernon. I think Jared's done a really good job. I know they're 2-4 in conference, but they have a really good team. They're tough to beat, especially up there in Ohio. Have you watched those guys?
Yeah, I will be completely honest with you. Since COVID and since this kind of change, people ask, what do you do differently now than you did, 5 years ago? I enjoyed last night with the guys. I enjoyed just thinking about the each individual. That's one thing I decompress after games by erasing the board myself. And, I look at those names who I put up on the board, and, you kind of say some prayers for these guys, and I just think about them individually as I'm driving home and then putting my head down to go to sleep. And then the next day you wake up and the only thing I got on my mind now is Bethel. Like, that's it. So I couldn't even tell you, who's coming up. I can't even tell you who we play next Wednesday. I know we play Bethel Saturday, and that's how I've changed too, whether it's good or bad. The focus is in the moment. It's right now. How can we be better in practice today so we can get ready to go up and play, again, what I think is a really good basketball team on Saturday.
Wow, if you can accomplish that, it sounds like you have been able to do that, to compartmentalize like that. That's got to be very helpful to kind of keep you calm.
There's just too much. There's a lot of noise. And look, I'm not naive to understand. There's, we have the number one beside our name, and everybody's is gunning for you. But man, there's so many. I watch so many NAIA games. There's so many good coaches and so many good players.
Yes, there are, and
so many good teams. Like, you look at, I just have an appreciation. Langston, Chris Wright. We couldn't be more different in how we coach and just get it done like his way, right? I appreciate guys, again, have a plan. Stick to that plan and execute that plan. And, the College of Idaho, man, like, again, Colby, we're not real similar, but man, are they really, really good. And obviously Parnell's, ACU and Georgetown and everyone in our league, and Montana Tech. Like, I've enjoyed watching programs just going, look, I'm not naive enough to know that all these teams are looking at us and saying hey, if or when we play Grace, what are we going to do? So again, I think that's part of it, is just, I'm going to enjoy it, but I'm also going to worry about, look, if we don't get a little bit better, it's going to be hard enough to win our league, let alone the other stuff. So we'll just focus on that right now, and all that stuff will take care of itself if it's supposed to.
Yeah, you mentioned something that when I look at the NAI and the coaches' jobs, I honestly don't understand how you guys can do it, because you go out and you recruit, you bring in the best guys you can, but everybody up the road has done the same thing, and everybody up, you know what I'm saying? It's like a arms war, and you might have a great year, and then you got to do it again, then you got to do it again, it can really be a grind, can't it?
Well, one thing I love about this level is you see guys, like Northwestern, right? Northwestern of Iowa. Mm-hmm. Coach has been there for 20 years or whatever, and he's that's a program. Kim Elders, when he's at Cornerstone, like the Coach K's of the world, the Lightfoots of the world, it's just rare. And I think there's so much quality coaching at our level because one, those other jobs, especially the high major, right? They're all sought after. If IU opened and they had open applicants, there'd be 30,000,
Yeah.
right? There'd be tons of. So you have all these guys. I mean, you ask around. This is not just me. This is everybody. You can ask Chad Lacrosse at St. Francis. Like Chad has washed the uniforms. He sets up the bus schedule. He sets up the arena every time they have a home game. He works with the meal plans. He like all that stuff. You're just in charge of so many things that you do. You have a grasp on your entire university and college. And I think that's so beneficial where some of those other guys, I know they get paid a lot of money, but they're not doing that, right? Mm-hmm. Matt Painter ain't setting up, meal plans on their trip. He got somebody to do that for him, and fair enough, he should. But there's just so many good guys at not only X's and O's, but running a program. Like that's what I love about our level is you truly are. You're in, man. You are doing everything, and you have a pulse on everything. And it's what makes it special. I think that's what makes it different than some of those higher levels. It's fascinating to watch, man.
Yeah. Well, Scott, you got to be happy up to this point. As you said, you got your challenges, but you just got to go one game at a time. I want to wish you a lot of luck as you continue to move forward there in the crossroads, and we'll certainly be watching your progress.
For sure, man. I enjoy that those snowy trips up there. I just got a text from Parnell and said the bus ride. You got the chains in there, and the LC State is coming. It's going to be a 12-hour bus trip.
Yeah, it's
we're spoiled here in the Midwest. We got our 50-minute long bus ride to Mishawaka on Saturday. So I know we'll be complaining about it.
Well, now that you bring that up, this is the first weekend, and I don't know how long that I won't be able to travel.
What we have here is we just have a bunch of snow in the cornfields, but we don't.
And it's flat roads,
we don't get caught. Yeah, we don't get caught in the mountains. So. Yeah, trust me. I tell my guys all the time that 3-hour trip we have to take to Mount Vernon. I don't want to hear anybody complain because I can tell you Oregon Tech and all those Cascade teams would be thrilled to take that trip.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to get maybe a little lucky that the big storms are coming through early.
Good. Well, thanks, Billy. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's Scott Moore. He's head men's basketball coach, Grace Lancers. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, bud.
Thank you very much for supporting our podcast. Please like and subscribe. Get out to your local NAIA school because NAIA basketball is the best entertainment value in America.